I'm here today with Chris Lovett, who is an author, speaker, sought-after voice in the simplicity movement. He supports organisations and teams to evolve leadership skills, create high-performing, sustainable cultures, and retain the energy to do what matters. And his new book is called Relentless, The Power of Less in a Workplace That Demands More, which is a great title, Chris, by the way. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Alison, can you do all my intros? Because that was just brilliant.
Sure. Yeah, no, we'll work that out. We'll talk after. Great.
Yeah.
But that title, that sort of relentless and they're always needing more. I mean, you've nailed it, haven't you? That's exactly how most of us feel most of the time. So, yeah, just tell, where did that come from?
Just listening to people.
Yeah.
And I think when I started writing Relentless back in 2022, which feels ages ago now, I just had these three words kept being saying to me all the time. It's just relentless. And ironically, those are the first three words in the book. And as soon as I heard that word, I was like, that's the one, because it connected with the theme of less, which I'd already kind of leaned on as my kind of personal brand. And I was like, that's it. So I almost had the title first before all of the content that went into the book afterwards. But yeah, when you just know, you just know sometimes your gut tells you.
And now I have to write this book because it's such a great title.
Now, that's it. Now that I've got to live up to the content of the title being so brilliant.
Has it always been like that though? Is it more relentless than it used to be? I mean, have things changed, or are we just getting flakier?
Oh, great question. Yeah. I think it's probably got more relentless because there's a downsizing of organisations, but not a downsizing of things to do.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it.
Not only in the workplace, but in life as well. Like, we're bombarded with options and opportunities and things that we feel like we must attend to and must consume. And then you go into the workplace and there's a million messages to respond to. And, oh, by the way, you've been added to another Teams channel. Oh, and by the way, this project has your name written all over it. But make sure you don't burn out, though, because obviously we need you. But also, Sarah's left accounting. So if you could just pick up some of Sarah's role while we fill it as well. And then that 2 years goes by and that role doesn't get filled. And all of a sudden you've got an ampersand job, which is almost like the Spice Girls song, Two Become One. And then like years later, you're like, how did this happen? And you're managing 45 people. You've got 6 dogs. And it just becomes more and more and more and more. And you're like, well, this becomes normal pretty quickly.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because so many of the tools that are supposed to help us manage that, so the productivity tools, the systems, the tech that's supposed to help us do it, actually often becomes part of the problem too, because it's just one more damn thing to manage.
Yeah, that's it. And I don't know if you remember this, Alison, but I think maybe back in 2006, 2007, like, we were given this thing called Inbox Zero. I don't know if you remember that.
Even when they told me about that, I think I laughed in their faces. Yeah.
It was like a computer game. So you almost had to, if you
Like
got
whack-a-mole.
if you got your inbox down to 0 messages, you got a little message from Google that said, well done, you are up to date.
No, I'm not. I've just deleted all my messages.
Yeah, that's it, right? Well done. And so that was when we had one inbox to manage, and now we've got dozens. And so those kind of, not old school told, productivity hacks, they were right for that season, for that era. Things like, even simple things like we've been told, like, turn your notifications off and things like that. That is so much more easier said than done now, because you've got so many plates to spin and so many really important priorities. If you miss one, it could be disastrous, but also to your own anxiety.
Yes.
As well, because we're like, well, I can't miss out because there's a threat. So we've got so many productivity hacks that have worked in the past that now may not work in this new kind of post-pandemic AI do more with less era. So now it's more about a mindset, and that's kind of where the book is. Here's a bunch of things to try, but ultimately the bottom line comes down to, you don't have to do it all.
Well,
and you're not going to be able to do it all.
yeah,
So
quite.
pick your most important thing.
Yeah, stop
and
trying
do
to
that.
pretend that you can do it all. Yeah. So, well, I
Yeah.
think that's the important thing now. So we've sort of established that it's relentless, and everybody's nodding along with that and going, "Oh my goodness, are you in my head?" So let's fix it. Not fix it.
Yeah.
We're going to fix this for you, people. Don't worry. What can we do about it?
Yeah. Yeah. What can we do? I think the first bit is just be okay with not being able to fix it all.
Yeah.
So whatever is on your to-do list, be okay with you are not going to be able to do them all. As soon as you know that, life becomes a lot more easier. You're not going to be able to respond to every message. You're not going to be able to help every single person with every single problem that comes to you. So I think that's always the first bit is once you know that you can't do it all, it becomes a little bit easier.
That's the mindset shift.
That's the bit. I think just ultimately trying to understand what is the most important thing I need to do today. If you do that, brilliant. Well done, you. Pat on the back. If you do anything other than, in addition to that, great. They're a bonus. But the most important things that we need to do are generally what we're, from a workplace perspective, is what we're rated on. That's what we're supposed to do from a performance perspective. I'm not sure, and you might correct me on this. I've not known anybody that has turned up to a job interview and says, "I'd like you to answer 100 emails a day," or "I'd like you to attend back-to-back meetings for the next week, please." I don't think that's a metric that we are rated against or given a performance grade against.
And yet here we are.
And yet here we are in back-to-back meetings, which we know are bad for us, but we do it anyway. We are responding to the latest fire or the latest urgent thing, deep down that we know it's not that urgent. But because we're caught in this cycle of busyness and everyone else around us is just continuing to be busy, we feel like we have to play as well. And so even like the tiniest of what I call like an internal rebellion, where we say to ourselves, you know what, I'm going to leave this meeting 5 minutes early because I've got another one. So I just need 5 minutes to either go to the toilet, to just take stock of what I've just heard and do a little bit of prep for the next one. Taking a lunch break. These tiny little minor bits of rebellion to our internal dialogue or kind of those entrenched narratives. Once you do it once and nobody notices, it gives you the proof that it's safe to do it again. And then you just kind of build from there. And before you know it, you're starting on time, you're finishing on time, you're taking a lunch break, and performance has elevated because you are not burnt out. You're not being fixated on the latest fire to be put out. You're very controlled, you're calm. And everyone starts looking and going, Alison's really organised. How do you do that? And you kind of go, well, I just don't do stuff that doesn't matter.
And you've got this lovely phrase, strategic laziness, which I think
I love it, yeah.
tell us about how can we embrace strategic laziness?
Yeah. So, and for those of you listening, for those of you who like a lie-in, this is not just a way to get an extra few, but ultimately we've been taught ever since we've been educated to work really hard. And I think the narratives in society is like, if you work really hard, you'll get everything you ever wanted. And, that was a narrative that I grew up on, and my folks worked to the bone. And that's how I started my career. I was like, you work all day, you work all night. And then over time, I started to notice that my performance wasn't great. I was stressed all the time, and I was like, but I thought this was supposed to be the way that you do it. This is how you succeed in life, right? And so I decided to do a little more experimenting on like breaks and naps and time away from the screen, all the stuff that science tells us to do, right? But we just forget about it when we're in the midst of busyness. So if I, rather than just say take a break or take your eyes away from the screen for 5 minutes, those things are already been ignored. So how can I rebrand it that makes people go, oh, that sounds really interesting and a little bit rebellious, because people do deep down, they love a bit of rebellion. And so, yeah, I kind of labeled it as that, but ultimately it's just taking some time out of the busyness and away from your work, because that's where you get some of your really good ideas, and that's where you can recover, and that's where you can think, which ultimately is a lot of knowledge workers' role, is to think about stuff. If you've got no time to think, does that really equate to you being a role model or a high performer? So yeah, I came up with that term, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to stick with that. That sounds pretty cool.
It's so interesting, because what you're doing there is I think one of the great gifts of the business book author, which is to give someone a bit of a term, a bit of language that they can use for something that lands, that sticks in the brain, that they can use with other people. It's really valuable. But it does also speak to the fact that you are writing for insanely busy people, sort of by definition. You know, we're writing, you're saying, hey, people with too much to do, here's a book to read. You know, which is problematic.
I'm fully aware of the irony.
Right.
aware.
But I know that you really, really consciously designed that book so that it could be more easily read by busy people. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I've kind of coined this book as this is the book for people who don't have time to read a book. So it's less pages, it's less words, and it has built-in breaks. So every chapter is 4 to 5 minutes long. So everybody's got 4 to 5 minutes, whether that is let's say, okay, right, you're on the toilet, right? Just pick it up while you're on the toilet.
We're all thinking it, yeah.
Right, okay. Read a chapter, and within that chapter, there is no fluff. There is no additional stuff that you don't need to know. There's no additional context. It's basically just right to the point about, why do we get caught in this trap? Here's a case study or a bit of science or a bit of research that tells us why. Here's some reality check about what it might look like for you.
Yeah.
And my kind of personal stories about what it might look like for me and how I've been caught in the trap. And then here are 3 ways of potentially avoiding it. And you can put them into your workplace or implement them into your approach to work right now. And so basically people could pick it up, read it, and go, oh yeah, that's me. I struggle to say no. Here's a few ways to put no into your language a little bit more. And go, oh, well, I've got a meeting in a minute. I might try that. Book down, back to work. And it's not like a novel where you have to keep reading and knowing what happened in the previous episode. And stuff. You can literally just pick it up, open it wherever you like, and then kind of go, well, I might try that. So yeah, that's kind of how I've approached it, because all of my clients are extremely busy. They do not have time to sit down and read a book. My partner is extremely busy. My friends are everyone I know is extremely busy. So I've got every one of those in mind. And ultimately the point of it being is I want to make sure that everyone is healthy enough to do the best work they can. Because, my friends are texting me going, I'm crying at my desk. I hate all of this and I feel like there's no way out. So it gives people enough hope, enough empathy to kind of go, I hear you, I'm there with you, but here's some things that you can try, because actually a lot of the solutions are within you. So here's a couple of things, and here's some proof they work. Now off you go. And then go smack on the bum, see you later. I'll see you next week when you come back for chapter 2.
Now, you're busy too, as you say.
Yeah.
Writing a book takes even longer than reading a book. How did you do that?
I started writing it in 2022, and I was so confident that this book was going to be out in like 18 months that I'd even recorded the audio book of my first book and put chapter 1 on the back end of the audio book for number 1, thinking, here's a little thing that you can coming soon.
Yeah. Really soon.
4 years later.
Any day
now.
Yeah.
Yep. That didn't happen. So
I think we're going to need a little bit more context there. Actually, tell us a bit more about the whole not happening thing.
Yeah, I kind of just life. I moved house twice. Relationship breakdown, new relationship. My dog passed away. Just loads of kind of life stuff happened, and all this time I got a full-time job as well as having a side hustle and running an Airbnb and trying to write a book. and still doing the marketing for the first one. So yeah, I just had
Multi-hyphenate,
to.
they call it, don't they? Multi-hyphenate.
Yeah, I think that's the term.
That's it.
Yeah, I
Something
love
like
that.
that. Thank you, Emma Gannon.
Yeah, and so yeah, it just kind of got one of those projects that are like, I will get around to that when I have the energy and the time. And I think it was just one thing that I'd settled on is like similar to what the content of the book was. It didn't need to happen immediately. And that was kind of validated externally as well because I went and had a couple of conversations with some publishers. And I started to get really impatient, and I was like, "It's ready now! It's ready now!" And they're like, "Don't! There's no rush. What's the rush?" And I'm like, "It's been sat in my laptop for 3 years. Like, I just want to get it out." And they're like, "Chris, just there's no rush. Be patient. Be patient." And so that was a skill that I learned.
Publishing
And
has crazy long timelines. And I'm sure they explained it all to you, but it's not about the manuscript. You think the manuscript's ready, let's publish it. But they had, no, we have to prepare the advance information sheets for the reps, and they need to sub it into the bookshop 6 months ahead of publication. And the timeline on that is extraordinary and hasn't shifted in 120 years. And I don't understand why, but there we are.
Yeah, and I hear you. And this is my kind of. I did the first one independently, and the second one is now gone traditional,
It's a degree
and that was the whole kind of degree, yeah. And I kind of planned it to happen that way, so I could experience a different avenue. And yeah, and basically the feedback so far is quick, 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 slow, 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 quick, 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 slow. So yeah, so basically in the midst of between book one and book two, life
A lot of
happened,
life.
and that was my priority, and that needed me. so I attended to that.
But you did get the writing done, even sort of ahead of
I did.
the publishing stage. So tell us about how busy people can carve out that time to write, and why should they?
Yeah, it's a great question. It just basically, I took that step back and listened to. It's going to go a bit woo woo now, like the universe, and I'm tapping into like my gut feeling, and there were stories everywhere, and whether it was like someone just throwing out one line, like for example, that I mentioned earlier about my friend who just texted me saying, "I'm crying at my desk," like it's relentless, and I'm like, "Oh, there he is again. There's the term." And it was like, right, let's just pull on that thread. So I chatted to lots of people and I was like, what is it that's causing this chaos in your working life? And so, yeah, rather than me trying to come up with all of the answers or trying to come up with all the content, it was already out there. I just had to pull from different threads and different avenues and talk to different people and go, right, what is it that puts teams in this kind of spiral of false urgency and these alarms that keep going off, and everyone says, "Oh, we got to, jump to that nearest thing," and then that's not the most important thing. And so yeah, so then I kind of went into the psychology of it all. But I was taught, Alison, and all the stuff when I did book one is that you must just keep writing a number of pages per day. And I know you mentioned that on your TED as well back in 22. That you
Writing
write
practice, yeah.
like yeah. And so I started that, and I was like, this kind of works to a point for me. And I had to have moments of motivation, and then knowing when that motivation dipped. And I was like, well, do I stay in this because there's something here, or do I just put it down and come back to it another day? So I still haven't found my exact approach, but I've found that stepping away from the work for a period of time and then coming back, whether that is just going out for a walk or whether that is going into a new context. And then when I come back and reread, I then realise how shit it is and have to change it.
Yes, that's going to a lot of sort of nods of recognition, I'm sure, all around the place at the moment. So that there's two ways you can respond to that, isn't there? You can just like, oh, what's the point? Or you can go, something here, there's something here, I'm going to lean into it and get past that discomfort. What do you find? I don't want to put words into your mouth. What's positive about that process for you?
I think there's an element of deep down, it's a message that needs to get out, or there's a story here that people need to hear. But because you've been in it for so long, it loses its shine, and you're like, oh, this just doesn't have the pizzazz as it did when I first wrote it. but it is purely because you've read it 50 times.
Yeah.
And people reading it for the first time will get that same feeling. It's like a song. It's like your favorite song. If you keep listening to it, it loses its shine. And so what I've tended to do with songs, right? I'm a big music fan. When I find a song that makes me go, oh, well, fill in the blank, I leave it alone. I stick it in my kind of liked Spotify playlist, and I try to get that same feeling again in a distant future when I don't know when it's going to pop up, and it'll pop up and I'll be like, oh my God, I remember this. This
I
is
just love this
brilliant.
song.
Oh, what a great track. And so I try to have that. So I step away from it for a bit and then I leave it alone. Then I come back and work on something else. But also having outside help.
Yeah.
Outside help does really give you that sense of perspective as well, because having an editor is great, and having someone who you can talk to, who basically will tell you that it's rubbish or will tell you it's good, is a lifesaver. Because I could have looked at it and gone, Alison, that's brilliant, all of it's great, no problem, let's get it out. And then my editor looks at it and goes, chapters 1 to 4 really good, needs a bit of work. 5, 6, or 7, what I don't even know what you're trying to say. And I'm like,
that's the feedback that really helps, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's lovely when beta readers say, "Oh, I loved it. It's really good." You can't use that. It doesn't help you at all.
Yeah. So I think that's there's an element of taking it to a point yourself, and then leaning on your most trusted editor friends.
Yes, brilliant. And if there's people who are on this journey, maybe they've had a manuscript for 4 years, who knows? What would you say is your sort of best tip for someone on this journey?
I would definitely say find the way that you get your creative juices flowing and go there. So there is a way that traditionally other people would have approached it. That might not be your way. So my way was different. My way was go out and leave it alone. Don't go through the wall, and push myself to the limit, because I'm not. I have other stuff to do, right? So, and I generally get my best ideas either in the shower, out in nature, or weirdly in traffic. So once I hit that wall, and it was a struggle to write a sentence or to finish a paragraph that was just looked so easy. Just finish the paragraph. Alison, just finish the sentence.
How hard can it be?
Just finish it. How hard, right? Once you know that this is I'm really struggling to write this sentence, after a period of time, I need to get out. So once you kind of realize that bit, make that bit shorter, go to where you get ideas, just go there. Spend more time there, and then you come back and you go, oh yeah, and that's it. The amount of times I have woken up the following morning, looked at something, and within less than 5 minutes finished the thing, or come up with a brand new line. It was just there all along. I just had to remove myself and then plug myself back in. And that was, once I realised that, everything got so much easier.
And I guess what we're saying is that strategic laziness works for writing as well, actually.
Well, there you go, right?
Yeah, walking the talk. Brilliant. Thank you for that. I also always ask my guest, Chris, to recommend us a business book. I mean, you can't recommend your own, sorry, not allowed. But what book would you, what book would you recommend that listeners pick up if they're not aware of it?
I'm reading a few at the moment, but the one that has really piqued my interest is Today Was Fun by Bree Groff. First-time American author, and you can't miss the book cover because it's just a massive neon shiny face. So you'll be able to see it. Bree has endorsed Relentless. So once I read her book, I reached out to her and I said, I love this. Would you mind? And she's like, yeah, great, because it was quite in the same wheelhouse. But yeah, ultimately it was a book about fun at work and how that kind of lost art is kind of ebbing away and eating at our energy and things like that. And I remember when I was starting out in my career, work used to be really fun.
Yeah.
Like I used to go around and hang out with now friends, people I still consider like really good friends of mine. And then just as you get older and into your career, everything just becomes really serious all the time and really boring. And then you become really serious and really boring. And you're like, I don't want to be like that. I want to have fun conversations and do fun things and come home and like your kids or your partner or your family goes, "How was work?" And I don't know. Oh well, I got really annoyed because Dave in HR, wouldn't let me sign off a thing that no one really cares about. So yeah, so I it lined perfectly with who I am, who I want to dial into more again. And so yeah, that would be my recommendation.
That's
Today was fun.
great recommendation. I've never heard of the book, so thank you. I'm going to seek that out. That's absolutely brilliant. And Chris, if people want to find out more about you, more about Relentless, more about the work that you do, more about the Simplicity movement, where should they go?
Probably LinkedIn is the main place to go, I would say. I'm on there quite regularly. I've even went onto TikTok last year because my publisher said, "Why are you not on TikTok?" And I went, "Because I'm 45." And
there's an age limit. I do not know.
Yeah, it's like I had to provide different sorts of identity to log into. But yeah, so I thought, what, this is a really great platform to help people who are, let's just say, moving into the workforce and maybe earlier on in their career, who are looking at it at the workforce, going, "This is weird. I don't want to, don't exchange my health for a paycheck, and I don't want to have the same job for 40 years." And so actually it's quite popular. I didn't think it would be, but those kind of 45-second snippets of me just kind of going, oh, by the way, here's a quick tip to simplify your work. If ever you receive a meeting invitation and then later on it gets cancelled, just leave it in your calendar. Don't remove it. And then that time is yours to do what you want because you were already unavailable and now you're just unavailable to everybody else.
Yeah.
And then the amount of people that go, "Oh my God, this is life changing." And in my head, I'm like, it's so simple. It's just do that.
Yeah.
And it gives you that little bit of breathing space to, to perform and, to do more of the things at work that matter. So even like things like I'll go on there and go, did you know that it's National Lunch Break Day today? Well, it's not, but did you know that the average lunch break is now just like 28 minutes or something? And the lunch break will be something that we tell our grandkids, similar to like picking up the house phone and renting a film from Blockbuster Video, like those types of things. So I just kind of share little tidbits that help people on those platforms. So yeah, come and find me, Chris Lovett. Once you see the big hair, you've hit the right place.
Yes, if you're not watching the YouTube, you won't understand that reference, but he's got magnificent hair. Thank you for bringing the hair. Brilliant. So I'll put those links up on the show notes at extraordinarybusinessbooks.com, along with the full transcript of this conversation. Chris, it's been really fun talking to you today. So today was fun. It was great. And thanks so much for your time and good luck with Relentless.
Thank you so much.